Thanks for staying with us. To join this conversation right now is the APC National Secretary, Senator Ajibola Basiru. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, madam.
Good to have you on the show. So we're discussing before you came on the president's 100 days in office. Many have described it that it seemed he was somewhat ill-prepared for this job because of the great policies he did, but the fact that they didn't consider the effects of some of these policies on the Nigerian people. Some have also said that they are happy about these responsiveness, the fact that when there was a outcry on some issue, he seemed to respond. What are your own general view on the president's 100 days in office across board?
Yes, I think the first starting point, I thank you for bringing out this conversation. And of course, in a democratic setting, there are always a heterogeneity of ideas. So we don't expect everybody to agree with our leader, the president, and our party policies. But the first starting point is to say, using the word of Amilcar Cabral, tell no lies, claim no, easy victory, and don't mask any challenges, any failure, from the masses, because the masses are concerned about their well-being. They are not really concerned about the ideas, in your brain. So to start with, we must be very honest that the presidency of Ajibola Basiru is a reformist administration. And like all reformist administration, the starting point is always, very difficult. So we acknowledge as a party that the necessary changes in the architecture of our polity, in the architecture of our economy, and the structure of our government necessarily is affecting, quite the mass of our people. We must be honest about that. But all is for the betterment of our people in the long run, and I will make that clear, in this, conversation. First and foremost, the fuel subsidy as a multidimensional problem that it has created, for the Nigerian society. First is the fact that it has become a drain on the little resources that the country has in being able to galvanize development and expand economic opportunities. Secondly, it also has adverse effects on our security. You discover that some of the Boko Haram insurgents, particularly in the northeast, rely on the arbitrage of the price of petrol within the West African sub-region and Nigeria as a veritable source of funding for their operation. The third aspect is also that the fuel subsidy regime has become intractable cesspool of corruption to the benefit of tiny elite cabal in Nigeria. And just as been promised by all leading presidential candidates in Nigeria in 2018, that the fuel subsidy has to be gone. So what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done is in line with resetting that reality. I was in the 9th Senate. You will discover that we spend close to between 5 and 8 trillion naira every year in addressing the question of fuel subsidy, just assuming that that amount of money is made available for a productive activity, for infrastructure development. The net effect in advancing the economic and welfare of the people would then be felt. I read a report yesterday or day before yesterday that the World Bank itself has acknowledged that Nigeria will be able to save close to 3.9 trillion naira this year from the decision to take away fuel subsidy. But then, yes, we have made some savings in the past 2 or 3 months of the administration. But that savings for now cannot even be put holistically into the economy so that we don't have a situation of hyper gallop inflation. So what the president and his team has done is to have an understanding with the governors that this would be put into infrastructure support. And of course, you know that when infrastructure development is given priority, it will, in the overall interest of the country, galvanize our economy. The second aspect of the decision policy in terms of monetary policy of administration is to float the naira. You will discover that the idea of subsidizing the naira, if I may use that word, or supporting the naira, has created disincentive to investment in the Nigerian economy, both direct investment and portfolio investment, because investors will not know whether they will be able to repatriate their capital and profit, and at what rate they will be able to do so. Yes, that I must acknowledge has caused some inconveniences some difficulties, but in the overall interest of the country, when this policy begin, to germinate, you will be able to see the overall benefits, for the betterment of the welfare of our people. So
let me get a few more questions for you.
People. So we want them to understand that the President Tinubu is the least person that want to inflict unnecessary hardship on anybody. Not talk of his own, compatriots and citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Right. Okay. Go ahead, Sokwe.
Okay. We've heard you. Many Nigerians will be saying something contrary, especially because Nigeria hasn't been able to increase its income. We have a problem in terms of our earning. Revenue still comes largely from crude oil. Our crude oil production is still far below capacity and is still dropping. And yet, when our president wanted to nominate ministers, he chose to nominate the largest cabinet that we've seen, 48 ministers, featuring a lot of politicians. How would you be able to defend this as an achievement in the 100 days of this administration?
My sister, I've not put a proposition forward that appointment of ministers is an achievement of administration. So calling me to defend, that would be to set a question, a marking scheme that I've not set for myself. Nonetheless, I must address the issue of the 48 ministers. You know, and all of us know that by the constitution of Nigeria, there must be a minimum of 36 or 37 ministers. And because by constitutional provision, every state must have minister. And in a novel response to the yearning of the people of the Federal Capital Territory, the current president has decided to nominate somebody from the FCT. And yes, 48 ministers were nominated, 45 so far have been cleared. So it's not the case that we have 48 ministers. Then secondly, too, being somebody who has been in government, I've been in government at the state level as a 2-term commissioner. I've also been a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, participating in the appropriation process. I want Nigeria to realize that the cost of governance in Nigeria is not really at the doorstep of political appointee. It is actually more of a function of the large size of our government bureaucracy, which is occasioned by the need for the Nigerian society to address to the welfare needs of creating employment, even though that may not be operative in terms of profit and loss principle. Government is a social engineering institution. It cannot operate on the basis of profit and loss and the kind of efficiency that our private sector will bring into it. Otherwise, there will be serious dysfunction. What am I saying? The bulk of the expenditure of government goes to the payment of the salaries of the public servant and are starting to be collected with any statistics to the contrary. And of course, the overhead of government. In the present current budget, what you have in the budget of Nigeria for the purpose of running the government, if you take away what political appointee 48 or even 100 ministers will take, is actually rather negligible compared to the huge amount of money that goes to servicing government bureaucracy. That must be said. Then secondly, too, what Mr. President had done by the ministers that he has put in place is to ensure that there should be a basis for key performance index and assessment of the function of the ministers. And you also look at the critical sector, where even there have been more than one ministers, there are critical sectors that Nigerians over the years have been yearning for more investment, for more attention. For instance, the health sector, you have the overall coordinating ministers and you have 2 ministers of state in that sector. One cannot say, you cannot, by Constitution of Nigeria, Section 14, security and welfare of the people is the paramount purpose of government. And when you cannot decountenance at the role of health for the purpose of addressing issue of welfare, then the oil sector is
let me pause you for a second, sir.
When I come back, that's also area where you have 2 ministers of state, one in charge of the gas sector, which is where the future is actually going now. Then one being saddled responsibility to be able to focus in the area of the oil that we already have some measure of certainty. So when you look at the ministers, you look at it in view of what assignment the president is giving them, and in view of what will be the overall effect that they will be able to bring in terms of overall economic development and prosperity for our people. Rather than looking at it from a negative, perspective.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this. We still have our guest, Senator Ajibola Basiru, with us. Damola, you had a guest. You had a question. Go ahead, please.
Yes. So the president appointed ministers from the 36 states and also from geopolitical zones. So let me just get, so the Northwest and the Southwest got 3 each. North Central, Northeast, and South got 2 each, but none from the Southeast. So what's your reaction to speculations that the Southeast was intentionally sidelined because the president did not get votes from that region?
I think anybody that is saying that is just, trying to say what is not empirical. One, the question of ministerial appointment is not just about the size. It's also about, the kind of responsibility that the president has given to, ministers, from across, the country, which, as far as I'm concerned, is not lopsided in favor of either the Southwest or the Northwest. Let us go to the Southeast and to, put light to the fallacy that the president, is sidelining the Southeast of the country. One of the most important ministry in any government, the Ministry of Works, and that is given to Senator David Umai. And of course, trade and investment. Nobody can countenance the importance of trade and investment in any administration and in any economic development. And that has also been given to my sister Doris from Imo State. So when you look at the caliber of ministers that have been put from the Southeast, and also the kind of responsibility, very humongous and very impactful, that have been given to them, you will know that Mr. President is not somebody that is have a little mind in that regard. In any event, the policy of our party is to consciously engage our colleagues from the Southeast and bring the Southeast into the mainstream of our progressive political party. And immediately after the election, we have set the work at that, and I can confidently tell you some of the fact that most of the big politicians in the Southeast are now in the fold of the APC or already on the way to be in the fold of APC. So we're going to see a more integrated Southeast in terms of national mainstream politics, and the president and our party, we are consciously engaging the Southeast in a way that we'll be able to have a more robust engagement with our colleagues and our brothers from the Southeast.
Right.
So there's no such intention, and of course there are evidence to the contrary of that intention that some possibly mischief maker they want to make. Mr. President and our party, we place a lot of premium on the contribution, the sagacity, and the sophistication of our brothers from the Southeast of the country.
All right.
The chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, who is a very important person in our party, is the governor of Imo State, Senator Okusodima.
Okay, so the question is actually about the 12 geopolitical, the appointment from the 12, the extra 12, what's it called, appointments from the geopolitical zones. They did not get any extra appointment at all, and that has led to a lot of speculations. That's what I want you to clarify.
But I've told you that the speculation is baseless, and who says if we now are in yearning to that speculation, which I call that speculation, and Mr. President decide to appoint additional minister from the Southeast, I hope pundit will also not say that we are also increasing the cost of governance. But I also know that beyond even the ministerial appointment, some key appointments in the government of Ajibola Basiru have been even balanced across all the political zones. That's what I can say in that regard.
I also have, we've talked about his achievement, but there's still some things that make it where Nigerians are saying he wasn't prepared. And it's really about the policies that you have mentioned as achievements. So let's just say the removal of subsidy is an achievement, but we see how, it has reflected, socially and humanly. And then we'll talk about floating of the currency. And most importantly, we're talking about the petrol markets between NNPCL and the independent marketers. They're saying that even though the market has been deregulated, they have had to leave the importation to NNPC because they cannot access Forex, and they're not getting the petroleum products even from NNPC. So the lack of readiness, the question would be, did he think it through? Didn't he know that there would be such impact on the economy? And if he had thought it through, maybe he would have better planned these policies.
I think if anybody lay blame of unpreparedness of Ajibola Basiru, that person certainly does not know Ajibola Basiru. Ajibola Basiru is really prepared. In fact, at the risk of sounding, immodest, is about the most prepared Nigerian to occupy the Nigerian office. Any major policy changes would definitely have, the kind of effect that we're having now. You cannot, talk of being able to know the ramification and be able to tackle ramifications of the removal of fuel subsidy and the floating of Naira and some other, reformist, program of Ajibola Basiru and say that you can fix it. Everywhere that has been development, it has always come, with, challenges and at times, hardship. But at the end of the day, it's about putting eye on the goal. What do we want to achieve in the next 1 year for our economy? What do we want to achieve in the next 2 years? The administration is not a 100-day administration. It's an administration of 4 years, and within the scope of that 4 year, you're able to make an assessment. Maybe in retrospect, after 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, what has been, the overall effect of this? So you cannot, a pigeonhole, assessment of readiness or preparedness within the scope of 100 years, beyond even the issue of, fuel subsidy and floating of the Naira. You should also know that one of the immediate tasks that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did was to set up a professional, think tank on addressing the issue of revenue, so that we can have a diversified revenue and having more revenue from, from taxation. And that committee has been given a mandate to begin to implement whatever they have been able to come up, rather than wait for when they come up with the holistic, recommendation, in that regard. And you see last week, they presented a plenary report and plenary report of action to the Vice President in his office, and it's widely publicized. Aside this, the president has also been able to put in place ways by which you'll be able to have a cooperative model of federalism, whereby irrespective of your political affiliation as a governor, you'll be able to participate actively in infrastructure development. Infrastructure cannot just drop on us on a single day. It requires meticulous planning and robust engagement with the active people in the sector. You can see the Minister of Works has already touched almost about 6 or 7 states within the period that he has been sworn in, try to have on-the-spot assessment of the state of infrastructure we have in the country. And I will tell you, if we're able to fix infrastructure, and I'm very confident I should be able to do that, fix power, and then be able to remove the imbalances and the structural dysfunctionality in our economy, all of us will be able to say that notwithstanding the present challenge, and I started this conversation by saying we understand that Nigerians are facing very serious economic challenges now. We are not closing our eyes to it and will not lie about it, but want to plead with them to see reason on the need for us to make the sacrifice for today for a better tomorrow, not only for ourselves, but the unborn generation of Nigerians.
Let me ask your thoughts about the president's relationship with the governors, because many of us have realized in the past few years that there can be real development if the governors and even the state governors and the local government are all in sync. Even recently, when the president tried to distribute 5 billion naira across the states, many Nigerians resisted it, saying that I don't give my governor 5 billion naira because I don't know how this is going to get to us. People are worried that the governors might not have aligned completely with the plans of the president. In this first 100 days, how would you assess the relationship within the federal government, the state government, and possibly the local government so far in really bringing development to their people?
I would say that one of the challenges that we have in Nigeria today is actually the depth of local government administration. I could recollect growing up in the city of Osogbo, the local government administration perform so many roles in terms of so many developmental activities, in terms of construction of markets, grading of roads, provision of amenities, and of course, diverse engagement in the economic activity, but it appears that our local government administration have been atrophied, by the state, government. So I know that one of the things, going forward, that the National Assembly and Mr. President will need to look into is to how to ensure we have viable local government administration that will be able to address issue of local security, local development, and of course, empowerment, particularly the women and the vulnerable in the society. As to entrusting the governors with the work of palliative, we must realize the fact that we are not a unitary state. Notwithstanding, this skepticism that some people may have about some governors, the president will want to have a cooperative model of federalism, whereby confidence will be built between the federal government and the state government. You also know that Mr. President, as a governor, also bore the brunt of an authoritarian and dictatorial federal government of President Olusegun Obasanjo, and he will not want to be to that particular part. And of course, those who have elected to have federalism put in place in Nigeria, of course, recognize the heterogeneity of our culture, the diversity of our people, and it is the context of that will be able to realize overall development of our people. There are a lot of responsibility on the part of the state government. In fact, the bulk of what is required to make life easy for Nigerian people is on the doorstep of our governor. What do I mean? Education, health facilities, environmental sanitation, development of intrastate commerce. They are all within the confines of our state government. So we want to call on our state government to be alive and support the administration to ensure that we have a qualitative development in the life of our people.
All right.
So the Minister of Finance has given an 8-point agenda to boost the economy, and that includes poverty eradication. Considering the 89 million people currently living below the poverty line, how realistic is this plan to eradicate poverty in 3 years?
I think there's a difference between aspirational agenda and the achievement of that agenda. With respect to the Honorable Minister for Finance, I think the question of eradication of poverty is an aspirational agenda. Of course, it has not put a timeline to achieving that. So it's not as if it's saying I'm going to eradicate poverty among the 89 million Nigeria within a particular period. But to the extent that it's aspirational, for us to be taken serious by the Nigerian people, we must begin to put in place practical programs and activities seeking to demonstrate our readiness to eradicate poverty. And what do I mean by this? One, we need to go back to technical and vocational training for our people. We need to strengthen the informal sector of our economy. We need to broaden access to credit among small traders and particularly women in our society. We need to strengthen our microcredit agency so that then we also need to look at the regulatory requirement for doing businesses at local places. A situation whereby somebody wants to do soap making in Osogbo, and we have to get to Abuja and spend millions of naira to get regulatory approval is disincentive to small-scale enterprises and business. So I would want to urge the Honorable Minister for Finance in trying to realize the aspiration of reduction of poverty to look into this, to look into erecting building blocks that will assist the vulnerable in society to be able to climb the ladder of economic prosperity.
Right.
Okay, sir. I want to take you to the manifesto. The campaign was made with a manifesto, a promise of what Nigerians should expect from this administration.
Renewed hope.
Yes, renewed hope. And then there was a detailed breakdown of how the renewed hope would take shape. Should Nigerians still expect that renewed hope document as a basis to hold this administration accountable over the next three plus years? Or should we, what should be our basis for holding the president accountable for delivering the renewed hope agenda to Nigerians?
Of course, the only empirical basis for assessment of the work of the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the Renew Hope agenda. So we are committed to actualizing the Renew Hope agenda. And if I may use the word, that is the Bible of the administration. And you will see, notwithstanding the present challenges that we are facing, in fact, those challenges are necessitated by the fact that if we don't go through those challenges now, we will not be able to achieve, the New Hope, agenda. You could see just a few days ago, Mr. President signing off on, giving out, 5 million or so, about 5 or 50 million, glasses to, vulnerable, Nigerians, to assist, with, their health in terms of sight. So part of what is being done is that if you want to actualize any agenda, you need resources to be able to do so. What the presidency is doing now is to ensure that we block the negatives in the economy, remove dysfunctionality in our economy, expand and diversify the revenue base so that there will be resources to actualize the Renew Hope agenda. If you want a modern, responsive, functional health system, you need resources to be able to do so. If you want functional education that is responsive to the yearnings of the aspiration of the teeming Nigerian youth, you need resources to be able to do so. And these resources, I will respect, they don't come from heaven. They're already here. When we go to use instrumentality of the law, policies and implementation to ensure that we harness the resources and then being able to galvanize development, which will catalyze in prosperity for our people in the long run.
All right.
But we already have a few deviations from the manifestos.
Okay.
That was why I wanted to
All right, well, go ahead.
Okay, so we cannot live without talking about security. I would not be unfair to say that I was expecting a huge change, in 100 days, but I would like to know what the direction is, because to me personally, it's not yet so clear, because we're constantly reporting attacks in Plateau State, Kaduna State, far up north. So I would like to know what the plan is, going forward.
Yeah, I think, yes, the issue of security, and I also appreciate you for saying that you cannot, use 100 days to assess what is being done in terms of security. But you know that one of the first set of decisions taken by Mr. President, bold one, is to, change, the leadership of the Nigerian security, forces, and ensuring that we bring, younger, agile people. I was very happy seeing the Chief of Army Staff, going, to the theater of war to also, ginger and motivate, the forces, and he made certain profound promises, which I believe the Nigerian government will do. One, to ensure that we have a better equipment for the Nigerian security forces, and of course, tackle the social aspect of their life. You cannot get the best motivation from soldiers, from security operatives, when their children and their wives are not, are getting the best in terms of education, in terms of health, and in terms of accommodation. Then secondly, too, the Minister for Police Affairs has also highlighted the need to have special forces to be able to address, the problem of insecurity, particularly specialized, security, problem. But beyond that, and I believe, going forward, our government will have to expand the capacity in terms of personnel and in terms of equipment of the Nigerian police. The Nigerian police, as it is today, is understaffed. We have less than 300 personnel to service about 180 or 200 million Nigerians. They also need more presence in terms of certain community, certain large expanse of Nigerian territories that are still not covered by any form of a security arrangement. And of course, as we improve the security architecture, we also need to improve the life of those that act in this theater, to ensure that they have necessary commitment to put in their best to be able to secure us. And I believe that issue of technology will also have to be looked into, and ensuring that we have a data-driven and technological enhanced security system in the country.
All right, we'll look forward to the next 100 days, but I'm happy that you want to give some kind of insight on the first 100 days of our president. Thank you so much. We'll be speaking with the APC National Secretary, Senator Ajibola Basiru, on this matter. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, move on to the next segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.